are the most popular religions in
So as I said, the Georgia is mostly the in the Eastern Orthodox Church. 87% of Georgians are Christians in Eastern Orthodox Christians, and we have about like 5 or 6% of Muslims, basically from Caucasian region Muslims, from Azerbaijan or Nordic Caucasian people. And we have some in other Christian churches. For example, the Armenians have their own Christian culture. So mostly it's Christian.
What about Judaism?
There are many Jews, about like 5%.
Also equal between Muslims and
Even a little bit more.
all right.
A little bit more, as I know.
Mostly mostly Christianity.
Sorry?
Mostly Christianity.
Yeah. So this is the 16th century, Georgia's like lowest point. It was attacked by. So in the region there was two separate playground between Ottoman Turks and Iran, Persia, and unfortunately Georgia became a victim of both, and they just like split the country in two by the document. And this is about changing the political orientation. We had to change the political orientation because to lead to Russia, because the Russian was only option to talk. Thank you. To say because the Russia was only a Christian state and a strong Christian state in the region. So we didn't have like only option. So at that time, the political orientation was based on your religion, your country's religion, because religion was that thing that helped you like save your culture. It was, yeah, by the religion. And as I mentioned, in 1980, Georgia declared its independence. But it lasted very short. After 3 years, Georgia became one of the republics in Soviet Union. Georgia was occupied by the Soviet Russia, and became like one of the.
Can you trace back, or were your grandparents there at the time, or like your family, they were there at that time?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, it was really hard times even for all the post-Soviet countries, because you know the 100-year rule of king was down, and there was anarchy. There was really hard times, but people made it.
Did your grandparents talk about it to your parents? Or
So unfortunately, my grandparents don't like remember that. They were born about like 30s of this time, but they remember their fathers and their parents' stories, and yeah, they've been a really tough situation, but they made it. So after, especially after the Second World War, you know, Second World War was really hard for Soviet countries, because just imagine, from the single country died 22 million per person in the war. So from Georgia we were drafted 700,000 people from 2 million people, 700,000 people, and 300 just died in the war. So yeah, it was a really hard times. Yeah, this is just a postmark from the Soviet Georgia. Batumi is the city in Georgia, in the coast of the Black Sea again. And this is the first president, Suyet Gamsapurdia, who was removed by the military council. Yeah, it wasn't like a real estate. It was ruled by military councils, ruled by gangster gangs and stuff. So Georgia was not like a state. But after that, we of course with the help of the mostly the Western countries, Georgia became a state. So basically, I want to say that the 90s were horrible in Georgia after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Yeah, so I did mention in Georgia, even in the Soviet era, there was a patriotic sentiments and there was a patriotic artist. For example, Mera Berzelishvili, who like made like this kind of, who made these old sculptures about the Georgian stories and Georgian Asian pride history. He like wanted to show, even in the Soviet Union when it was banned, to show your unique culture. He managed to show the Georgian culture even at the hard times. Yeah. So this is the war we talked earlier. You asked about Georgia. So this is the regions of Georgia, Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and currently these both regions are occupied by Russia. So basically with help of the separatists at these regions. And this is the Russian military movements in the 2008 during the August War. We call the August War because it took place in August. So yeah, even at that times we have Russian military bases based on those territories. So I just want you to imagine that this is the occupied region, right? So this is the state Tbilisi, the main city of Georgia, and it's like about 40 minutes to ride. So yeah, people are living in the permanent.
So those two territories, they're still occupied by Russia?
Yeah, military bases are located at the territories even now.
Okay. What year was that? 2008, you said?
The war in the Abkhazia, you see the northern west side, started in the 90s.
Okay.
And
It's been ongoing.
it's
Something
not
that's
like an
ongoing.
active war, but yeah, we can say that it's an ongoing war because the fact is in other countries militaries are still on our land, so yeah, it's still ongoing war. Of course, it's not an active war. Thanks God. And this is our president on the top, Salom Zurabishvili. And this is Soviet ruler Brezhnev, who was ruling the Soviets in the 80s, end of the 80s, 70s. So yeah, this is the shortest story I can tell about Georgia.
What's the system of the president?
So the president is not anymore the main person in Georgia. So yeah, we're trying to make a full parliamentary style
Okay.
because we have bad tendencies of the presidential because everyone like power, you know, and no one can control the main person's power. So we decided to make a parliamentary style. I think it's a more like democratic decision. So we're like managing to do this for like 7 years or 9 years. Any more questions?
What was it like during quarantine over there? Did they quarantine?
Yeah, it's like a basic quarantine thing. I mean, we started good, really good. We closed the country, but unfortunately it spread it all anyway, so we've been sitting in the houses for 2 years. So it was nothing special in Georgia.
And how many languages do you speak?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. We speak basically one language, official language, Georgian. We have our alphabet and our language from ancient times. But there's regions that have own, it's called the Ibero-Caucasian languages. They talk with these languages, but they consider themselves as Georgian. But they have like their region language, so it's not a problem. I mean, it's like a dialect. We can say that it's like a dialect.
So somebody from the capital of Georgia can speak to somebody in the mountains? They'll be able to communicate?
You know, every Georgian, even in the separatist regions, understands Georgian. Because you can't teach someone in school without Georgian, because every these little, like let's say, languages don't have their alphabet, right? You have to write it. So these languages you are using, most suitable for these languages are Georgian alphabet, because we are like close, you know. Our words, our alphabet words are really close. So basically they have to learn Georgian to speak their regional